Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at all the books I read in January. I actually read 16. It was a really good month. I wanted to read more, but things happened, as they do in life. So let's look very quickly at the books we read. So the first one I read was Richard Osman, We Solve Murders. So this is obviously a murder mystery. I have done a review of this in my quick reviews, so if you want to know more about that, go and have a look. But I did give it 5 stars because I absolutely loved it. Permanent collection, obviously. I then read Edward Marston, Murder on the Lusitania, about this guy who is a private detective aboard the Lusitania. He's their detective and things happen. Petty crimes, a bit uneventful, things go missing, but then there's a murder. So Dillman makes a friend of a first-class pass named Genevieve Maysfield, and together they go out and solve the crime. 4 stars. There may be a review of this as well. I'm not sure, can't remember. The next one was an ebook, so I'll put the picture here, and that was The Monster Museum by J.L. Bryan. This is yet another one of the Ellie Jordan Ghost Trapper series. And on this occasion she's been called to the mountains at Christmas, literally Christmas Eve, because there's a museum of monsters is haunted by something, and the owner is worried about his children getting involved and being hurt, naturally. So because there are children involved, she hops on up there on her own because everybody else is doing Christmas and she doesn't because she's a loner. But she doesn't actually go up alone, she goes up with Michael and his sister. There's a point to this. So, and they start investigating this sort of like scaly lizard fish monster thing. It's really good. And the historical part of it, the history to it of why this scaly fish monster lizard thing exists is absolutely brilliant. It's a really, really good story. And we have finally we have the return of Anton Clay. Another ebook I read on my Kindle was The Picture House Murders by Fiona Vetch-Smith. This is a Clara Vale murder. This tells the story of a young lady in the 1920s named Clara Vale. I think it's 1929. Her uncle, who she hasn't seen for a while, was a private detective. He passes away and leaves her everything from his detective agency to his house, all his money. Previously she's sort of like been the black sheep of the family. She's got an older brother who's a bit of a gambler and a wastrel and just throws money away. She's got a sister who's done the right thing and married a viscount. But Clara is a modern woman. She doesn't want that. She's gone to, I think, Oxford or Cambridge, one of the two, and studied chemistry, but she can't get a job in the field because she's a woman. But that's what it was like now, and it's going to be like in America. But let's not go to politics in the States because I can't. I love you guys, by the way, and I'm with you, whoever you voted for. I am still your friend. She doesn't care. So basically she goes up, takes hold of the business, and a woman comes to see her who her uncle was helping, whose husband's brother, I think, had a cinema, and she has one as well, had burnt down, and he was investigating whether it was arson because the insurance company won't pay out. So this lady then has a fire herself, and again the insurance company don't want to pay out. Then they're saying that it was electrical fault, or they're saying it's something they can't pay out on because it shouldn't have happened on both cases. So Clara investigates and she finds out a lot more than she bargained for. I love this series, really good. So of course I had to read the next one in the series, which is The Pantomime Murders. And in this case, Clara is hired to find a missing actress, Sybil, after she disappeared after a pantomime. She just walked out, nobody knows why, in her costume. You find out why as it goes on. It's all to do with it. But then a few days later she turns up dead. The police are quite happy to say it's either an accident or a murder, accident or a suicide, but Clara knows it's not an accident or a murder. She thinks it's a murder. And then another actress winds up dead, falling from a balcony in another theatre. So Clara keeps on investigating and convinces them that they are both murders, and figures out, of course, who did it and why they did it. It's brilliant. I enjoyed them. Then I read one of the books I had for Christmas. I had to read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which obviously, if you've read it, you know, it tells the story of how the Scar slaved in misery and lived in fear because of the Lord Ruler. He reigns with absolute power and they can't overturn him. However, a new uprising is in the works, and we meet this girl named Finn. She is a Mistborn, which means she can access the power of the metals. It's so clever. I love the way that this power system works, this magic system works. Generally, Mistborns are only those from the ruling classes, but she is a Scar. Her father was a nobleman, and she meets she meets these band of rebels and joins them. She has no one else. Her brother left. The person she was working with was horrible and beat her, and they were all horrible to her, so she doesn't trust anybody until she starts hanging with this band, and slowly she learns to trust them. It's also about getting over your past and finding a way to come to terms with the things that have happened to you. It's not just a fantasy. There's a lot in here that's really good about learning to trust and how it can be hard, but it can be worth it in the end. But obviously with the coming of trust and care and love for another human or another person comes the inevitability of loss when they pass away or get killed for whatever reason. A 5-star for me. I can't wait to read the next one. I just absolutely loved it. TBR pick, Wrath of Poseidon. Short review on here already, so I'm not going to tell you about that, but it was a good book. I thought it dragged on a bit at the beginning, but it was still good. Mayhem, Sarah Pinborough, set in 1888. Again, there is a review of this. Backdrop of the Ripper murders. That was not about Jack the Ripper, but it will be going in my Jack the Ripper collection because it's that sort of, comes under the canon of Whitechapel murders, so but in the fictional sense. So yeah, again, it was a really good book. Go and check out my short review in my shorts file. I finally got round to reading Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This book I haven't reviewed yet. I will be just putting a short up, but I will talk about it now as well if you don't want to watch that. I was just, at first I was like, when she goes, you know, she goes to work for the Winchesters, and Nina's nice one minute and nasty the other minute, a mess one minute, then blaming her another minute, Millie, and I was like, wow, oh god, I just walk. Then you learn she can't walk because she's not long out of prison. But you start hating Nina and feeling sorry for Millie, which is right. You should feel sorry for Millie. I believe you should have empathy for her at this point. Then when the perspective changed and we learn what's happening and why Nina has been like this, you start thinking, oh, okay, and it goes on like that. And so I really enjoyed it. So at first I was a bit, oh god, this character, why didn't she do something? But then when it swaps, you understand why Nina's the way she is, and it's very clever. The end, the twist at the end, I absolutely adored it. Fantastic. Then I read, what's the next one? The third Clara Vale mystery. It's the last one. There aren't any more at this time. I hope she writes more because I really liked it. And this one was The Pyramid Murders. So Clara has donated her uncle's Egyptian collection to their local museum because he was a bit of a eclectic guy. He collected things. And it's opening night of the Bob Wallace collection, that was her uncle's name, and obviously she's there, and they're expecting a delivery from London of a coffin, a mummy's coffin with a real mummy in it that they can open up and show people, because that's what people expect with Egyptian collections. Except for when they open the coffin, the mummy that they're expecting isn't in there, it's a completely different one. And in that mummy, when they're in having a look at it, they find some stolen jewels from Egypt from another tomb. So Clara and the lady who's running it, whose name escapes me, team up. They look more in detail at the mummy in the coffin and realise this is a modern mummy. This is somebody who's been dead no more than 10 years, if that. Simply because of what they are wrapped in. So it goes down to the British Museum and Clara goes with them, and then this curator asks Clara to go out to Egypt to investigate who this poor girl was, find out who she is, and take the jewels back to the Cairo Museum, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. So I love anything to do with ancient Egypt. It's been a place I've been fascinated with for decades. I have a very decent sized Egyptian book collection, and I'm always looking to pick up more where I can. It's just another one of those things I love alongside old Hollywood. Absolutely loved it. Loved the story. Loved the outcome. Brilliant. They're just really, really, really good stories. Then another Christmas book, Peter James, They Thought I Was Dead. If you read or watch the Grace series on TV, or have read any of the Dead books, because they've all got Dead in the title, you will know that Roy Grace had a wife. His first wife, Sandy, disappeared. She ran away. And this basically tells her story of what made her run away, why she ran away, and what happened right up into her death, which is where it picks up in one of the Grace stories. So we knew she'd run away, we knew she had a son, and we knew that she died. But we didn't know anything else. So telling you she died, if you've read the Grace books, is no biggie. This is the one that tells us. Roy Grace isn't in it much, he is in it a little bit, but it just tells us the whole of her story and why she ran away. It's quite sad, actually. It's quite sad. But, oh, love it. I love Peter James's books. I can't get enough Peter James, I'm not going to lie. 4 stars. Rinc-a-Tink in Oz by L. Frank Baum. I am still working my way through the Wizard of Oz collection, and I have made it to Rinc-a-Tink in Oz. Again, he's not the main character. Why they do that, I don't know. However, he travels to the land of the Pingaree to look the island over, because the people of Pingaree collect pearls from the giant oysters they have around their island. They then go and trade them with Rinc-a-Tink and his land to get things that they need to survive. So it's a trade agreement. He's always wanted to come to see Pingaree, but these people would never let him, so he sneaks off one day and ends up on the island. However, while he's there, the island's invaded by this other group of people. I don't think it says on the back. No. And because they had tried to invade before and they were thrown off by the current king. However, this time they managed to take everybody on the island hostage except for Rinc-a-Tink, his goat, Bill, and the Prince Inga. Now, prior to this, the king had shown Prince Inga how he had repelled the people of these islands, and it was by 3 magic pearls. One that told him what to do, one that gave him unlimited strength, and one that made him invincible, so they could hit him, attack him, blow him up, but nothing would happen. It would all bounce off before it got to him. His father couldn't get to them, and that's why the island was overrun. However, remembering where they are, Prince Inga goes to get them, and then they sail off to rescue everybody from these 2 twin islands where the king lives on one and the queen lives on another, because they can't stand each other. And it's really good adventure. It's one of my favourites from the series, actually, Rinc-a-Tink. And they do end up in Oz at the end, so that's why it's called Rinc-a-Tink in Oz, because he does go to Oz, but it's at the end. But I still liked it. It's still my favourite, I think. Then Murder in an Irish Churchyard by Carleen O'Connor. I like this book. So Siobhan O'Sullivan has joined the Garda because she'd already solved 2 previous murders in the village of Kilbane. Her first day of work, before she even started, the local priest comes and bangs on her door because he's found a body in the churchyard. The body is pointing to a grave. Turns out it's an American man named Peter Mallon. Can Siobhan, or what Siobhan has to do, is find out who he is, which she does, Peter Mallon, and why he's there, and why he's pointing at this particular grave. Although that's a little bit of a, misdirection. So basically he's come to Ireland in search of his family history in order to make a documentary, but somebody doesn't want the truth of that family's history getting out into the public. It was a really good read. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, love these books. I haven't written the rest in my book yet, but I've got them here. So then I read Dead Man's Folly by Agatha Christie. I love this cover. This one is from the 50s. Were they just dinky little books they had then? I love it. I think it's great. I'm going to keep this one. I'm not going to replace this with a beautiful modern copy because I just think this is just something really special. It would have been really cheap. It was 12 shillings. I don't know what that is now. 12 shillings and sixpence. But obviously, you know, it's just very blank blue cover. But even though the cover's tatty, it's just so really nice. I might put some tape on the cover just to proper tape, proper book tape. So basically, Hercule Poirot is called down to this country house because his friend, the author Ariadne Oliver, suspects something's not quite right there. Now the house is having a fete and she has set up a murder hunt, rather like a treasure hunt, but with a murder at the end instead. And she wants Poirot to come and have a look round because she's got a feeling that something's not quite right. So he goes down and she is right. The excuse that by a world famous detective there is to present the prize to the winner of the murder hunt, which makes perfect sense, especially as it's friends with a famous author. And she is right. Something is completely wrong in this scenario. And the person playing the murder victim actually gets murdered. So what did that person see? What do they know? Why were they killed? I love it. I love anything Agatha Christie. I started reading them when I was like 8 or something like that from the library, to the point that the librarian, we had a mobile library come around because I lived out in the village. We got I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I think I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday. Got a feeling of it and I can still smell it. Oh, the smell of the book. Oh, love the bookmobile. The mobile library. That I'd take them out, the librarian would say to me, is she alright to have these? Because I was so young. And my mum was like, yeah, she's read everything else. She's read all the stuff for her age. She's ahead. And I still am. Probably why I found, and I never look down on anybody who can't read books, because certain books I can't read. I just can't stomach them, or I can't get to grips with them. I can't get into them. And that happens to everybody. But War and Peace I found easy. Count of Monte Cristo, easy. I'm reading it at the moment. Loving it. I'm loving it. But some Dickens, not so much. Persuasion, it's all right. I was a bit annoyed at the characters, but yeah, it was all right. Anyway, enough of that. Next book is an ebook, picture up here, and it is the second book in the series of Haunted by Lee Mountford. This one is called The Devil's Door. Again, this is set at Perrin Manor. The owner, Marcus Blackwater, wants to turn the house into a hotel, and hires Rita and Ray to do it. Rita is a marketing person and manager of a hotel previously, so she comes in to get it all set up and running. She wants it to be a high-class boutique hotel where people come and stay that have got lots of money. It's not quite working like that. Strange things are happening. Her husband Ray innocently suggests that they have a big Halloween thing where they go on the paranormal aspect that the hotel allegedly has. And Rita doesn't want that. She thinks that's in contrast to what she believes the hotel should be. However, we all know that places that play up to their haunted stuff get more visitors. So Marcus Blackwater's on board with this, along with Rita's brother, who is the person that got them the job there. He's friends with Marcus Blackwater. But there's more to this than meets the eye. It's not just about getting people into a hotel. Marcus wants bodies in the hotel so that the ghosts can feed off of them. I'm not going to say anymore. It is a really, really good story. It's definitely worth picking up. It's on Kindle Unlimited. They all are. I'm slowly working my way through the series. And yeah, brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. So he's got a lot of books out, so I'm slowly working my way through this series before I start on the next one. I will get there, but I am working through some others. Then the last book I read in January before everything went to pot was a Doctor Who. Winner Takes All by Jacqueline Rayner. So this tells the story of Rose and the Doctor return back to modern day Earth, present day Earth as it was then, and are intrigued because there's this craze going around where people on the estate and in that area of London are given scratch cards where they can win a games console or a holiday. And everybody's doing it, and you get one with every purchase that you make in certain shops. But it's not that simple. So the video game is called Death to the Mantadines, and is it as harmless as it seems? So people are playing this game where they got to kill these aliens, but people are also going on holiday these holidays and never returning. Why? The Doctor and Rose investigate and find out what is going on with the games. The Quevils, they're the ones who are the aliens attacking the Mantadines. The Mantadines aren't actually that bad. They really aren't. But yeah, it's a real... It's a good one. These books are really good. So these are the stories, if you don't... if you're wondering why you haven't seen this episode on TV, this isn't an episode. These are stories that take place in between the episodes that we see on the television. So I just read them as and when I feel like it. I've got loads of them. They are great. And they are very quick reads. They're very short. They are for teenagers, kids. They're for fans of Doctor Who. So there we go. Anyway, I had a really good reading month, as you can tell. I had 2 5 stars, Mistborn and We Solved Murders. Lots of 4 stars, which is even better. That means that every book has been curated to my taste perfectly. Can't complain about that, can you? And that's the thing, when you do... You should be reading books that you're rating 4 stars, because you should be buying books that are created to your needs. And you may pick up a one for diversity reasons. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do it occasionally if I, something that interests me. Oh, I want to read that. That looks interesting. The Garden of Evening Mists was one of them. But I love the book. But generally, you buy books you know you're going to enjoy. So you should be rating them higher than 1 or 2 stars. But then sometimes that happens. Anyway, I've got to get going. I will see you soon in another video. Cheers.